Jump in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to 755 is Real. I'm David O'Brien, Braves writer for The Athletic. 755 is Real, presented by Topps. Check out Topps Project 70, celebrating 70 years of Topps baseball cards. With my co-host here, Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever, renowned left-hander with the sub-1 ERA one season that we'll get to in a second here. Eric, what's up, man? How's it out there? About 150 out in Washington?
It's going to be 117 today.
Oh,
I've never
damn,
seen
dude.
weather like this. It's crazy.
I don't
Can't
ever
even
want
take
to
the
hear
kids
anybody
outside.
say
They
hot
just-
Atlanta.
Man, the kids just break down outside in like a minute and a half too. It's so hot. It's crazy.
I can't believe the temperatures I was seeing in Seattle and Portland. That's just crazy, man. I didn't think that was possible.
Well, the thing is, like I'm on the other side of the state. It always gets in the 90s over here, but in
Right.
Seattle, when I was living there, like 20% of the units and houses have AC.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, that's what I heard.
It got up to 105 or 110 yesterday over there with no AC, man. That's rough.
Yeah, I heard in Portland, like 50% of the people don't have central air, and it was 116 degrees. I mean, how do you
Nobody
even
has
live
it.
in that? How do you sleep?
I don't
That's
know. I mean, we
that's
would go
insane.
I had a unit in Seattle one summer, and we got lucky. We found one of those portable AC units at Home Depot and got the last one. But those things sell out in like 10 minutes in Seattle every time it gets in the 80s. So I can't imagine what people are doing over there.
Wow.
My sister's staying at a hotel. They left their house and went to a hotel.
Oh, I bet. Just crank that AC up. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I heard. All the hotels are full, like downtown and everything.
Yep.
Well, we just got back from Cincinnati, and I tell you what, it was muggy as hell there on that river. Man, that
Oh,
you
yeah.
love the river view from the ballpark, but you forget how muggy it can get right next to a significant river like that. And downtown being on top of that river, it's really muggy. So, but and they moved the press box. They used to have a nice big air conditioned press box there, and something's wrong with the AC, but they moved the press box. We're down the left field line, which, for a change, at least for a series, it was kind of cool because the
Yeah.
perspective you get from up there, and it's good seats. Those people that have seats right there, those are good seats because you're close enough you could see everything in detail. But seeing the third baseman and the shortstop and the plays and how quick the game is from there, totally different perspective than being high up at above home plate and back. So it's
Yeah.
kind of cool, watching the throws. I was directly in line from the throws, third base to first base, watching the outfielders. It's a nice change. So
I think
I don't
that's
know if
why
I'd
it's
like it every
important,
home.
if you're a big fan, to go to some games too, because the game looks so easy on TV. But the
Oh,
closer,
yeah.
if you ever get a chance to sit down close to the action, you can see how fast it is. Same with like an NBA game. You
Yeah.
watch NBA on TV, it looks pretty easy. And then you sit down there close to the court and you see how big
And you
those
realize
dudes
how
are
huge they are.
and how
Yeah.
fast they're moving and how they
Yeah.
just glide on the court at 6'8", 230. It's crazy.
It's totally out of context on TV because all those guys are huge. So there's nobody
So
next
everybody
to them
looks
that's not
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've always told people if you get a chance to go to a spring training game, make sure
Those
you
are the best.
go down low, real low. And if you get like down low near first base and you watch just a ground ball, you get such an appreciation for how fast the game is that you cannot pick up on TV. You're like, it's such a different level than even a minor league game, much less like a college or high school game, how precision and fast it is. Crazy.
Yeah. Or anytime they use like those umpire or catcher cams,
Yeah.
they're always like the fisheye lens, so they don't give you the perfect perspective. But anytime
Right.
you can see from back there, the Giants do a good job of it. The Giants have a camera behind home plate, and they'll go to it sometimes. You can see how sharp the movement is on the pitches.
Yeah.
From behind home plate, it looks kind of gradual, but when you see that direction change from directly behind home plate, how that ball just dips down or takes off up,
Yeah.
it gives you a different perspective on, what the hitters are really dealing with.
Yeah. So 8 games, covered 8 games in 7 days in 2 cities. The Braves split the whole trip 4-4 and split each series 2-2. Overall, I thought it was a pretty good road trip for them. They had a couple of bad games, but overall, I thought they played pretty well. And there was more encouraging than discouraging. They split despite just being terrible with runners in scoring position for the entire trip.
Yep.
So I mean, they were getting guys on base. I mean, at one game they lost. They left 10 runners on base to Cincinnati's 2, I think, on Saturday. So, I mean, they just start to get a couple of knocks. And this is not a team that sucked all year with runners in scoring position. I know people think they have because they've left a lot of guys, at third with less than 2 outs, those glaring mistakes. But overall, they've not been bad with runners in scoring position, but they were terrible on this trip. So they could have easily won 6 out of 8. But I thought the most encouraging thing, obviously, was Mueller. Made two starts, first 2 starts of his major league career, and he didn't look just good. He looked great. He looks like he looks the way Ian Anderson did last year, how convincing it was, where you're like, this isn't fluky. This guy's 6'7", throws hard, has a nasty slider, really good curveball, and mixes in a changeup. I mean, all it was with him was a matter of, can he stop walking guys? That was the only thing keeping him in the minor leagues. And he flipped the switch like 3 starts back in his AAA career, figured some things out, made some adjustments. And man, the command's been so much better. And when the command's not an issue, there is no question about this guy. No question.
None. I mean, well, that's, when you would talk about him and tell me about him before, I didn't get excited at all because it was walks. You can't pitch in the major leagues walking people. You can't give out free passes because you're just going to get beat. But I never heard about his breaking stuff. And when I saw that first start, I was like, those are 2+ breaking balls. You get excited about a lefty throwing 97, but if he's walking people and he doesn't have breaking stuff, it's like, whatever. It's just another hard thrower that's probably going to flame out, especially when you say he's lifting trucks or whatever. It's like, all right, this is just a meathead throwing as hard as he can. But then watching him pitch, seeing 2 different breaking balls, and he could still dial it up to 97. I was like, man, I should have given this guy more credit and paid more attention on his way up. Because I kind of I didn't write him off, but I just didn't get too excited about him. When you're saying he's walking people and throwing hard, it's like, well, whatever, that's not going to play in the big leagues. But his breaking ball is definitely going to play.
And he had those videos that he and Tucker Davidson posted from Driveline, a couple of winters where they're throwing 100, and like, you're like, okay, whatever. But he learned, man, after a couple of years in the minors where he's just trying to blow everybody away, because he could hit 99, 100. I mean, he's driving line. He was 100, and he's hit 99.7 in an actual game on the clock. So he could, or on the scoreboard meter, but he's so he can hit 99.
The radar gun.
The radar gun. But he can hit 90. Yeah, what the hell am I doing? But he's dialed it back a little bit as pitching, night and day. I mean, he's learned that throwing 94 to 96. He is a much better pitcher than when he's trying to blow everybody away with 99 on the gun.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing too, because that's what gets everybody excited and talking about you. And when you're young, you want to go out there and light up the gun, and you touch 95 and
you're 6'7" from Texas.
Yeah, it's going to get people excited. If you go throw 7 shutout with 4 strikeouts and you touch 93. It's like in today's game, it seems like nobody cares. But if you go out there and throw 5 innings with 7 walks and you're sitting 100, there's going to be more people talking about you after the game. And, it's just something about the hype of throwing hard. But if you can find a way to just tone it down to whatever level you have to, where you're able to hit spots. And for him, that's still 95, 96.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's plenty when you're left-handed with a good breaking ball. Having the good breaking ball is so key because it gets them off that fastball. With no breaking ball, the guys will just eliminate it and they can hit anything. The speed doesn't matter. But once I saw that breaking ball out of him, I was like, man, this dude might be really good if he throws strikes. And he has.
Did you see him strike out Votto with two on for that with that curveball and that inning?
Well, first one was a hanging slider.
Yeah.
And it was still tight, right? And he's still throwing. That's where that 97 comes into play because Votto still got to respect it. It starts up and in. It wasn't a great one. And then the next at bat, he threw a good one and made him look bad. But that's where the velocity comes into play. But if he doesn't have any off speed, Joey's not going to struggle with 99 from a lefty.
Yeah. Yeah. So 6'7" lefty throwing mid upper 90s, 2 good breaking balls and a changeup. I mean, this guy. And you know what? The mental is every bit as good as the physical. This guy is energetic. He's aggressive. He's excited. some of these guys come in here in the interviews, you're just like, nah, it's not much there mentally. You wonder how aggressive they
Yeah.
are, or how much fun they're having, how energized they're. This guy's he's wired, man. He's ready.
I didn't see
So
that. I saw him he was pulling a bus or something with a rope. And I was like, all
right,
right,
yeah,
that's cool. But this dude might
he's a
be a big
monster.
dumbass. But coming up and being smart and having that stuff, I mean, there's
Yeah,
been
he's
so
a
many of these
monster.
guys to get excited about. But when you see that
Yeah,
they have it up here too with the stuff, then they can handle it.
he's the first one for me since Ian, and those are the only two really that have come up. And Kyle Wright had a couple of great starts at the end of last year, but we'd seen so many mediocre starts from him before that we're like, we're not ready to say he's turned the
Yeah,
page, completely. This guy's, yeah, to me, he's like Ian. Both his
just
first two
sharp.
starts have just been, yeah, he's just been really good. And I think they got one. They got one there. So when you can move forward building around that, you know, and it couldn't have come at a better time because it came the day we learn about, or the day after we learn about Soroka, which is just devastating news. I mean, the Soroka news, there's no positive spin to put on this at all. The guy tears his Achilles for the second time walking into the clubhouse. Literally, that's what we're told. Smith said, nope, he wasn't doing anything funky. He wasn't doing anything difficult. He was literally walking into the clubhouse and felt it pop, which to me says, given that 9 days earlier, he had sat there a week earlier, told us how great it felt and how the exploratory surgery revealed that the Achilles was completely healed from the first, that it was only a matter of those sutures that his body had rejected was causing the infection and discomfort, but that he was assured the Achilles had healed. To me, it just says, I mean, I don't know how a surgeon could be that wrong telling him that it's healed. And if it's not, I think there's something there. He's a guy that's predisposed to this because you just don't see 23-year-old pitchers tearing an Achilles doing what he was doing the first time, coming off the mound, stepping. Not 23. You see that from guys in their late 30s.
Yeah.
From basketball, you don't see it from basketball players in their early 20s. You see it from guys well into their careers. And it's usually doing something really rigorous, running out of the box, maybe,
That's how
when they're in their
Howard
mid
did it.
30s.
Howard did it getting out of the box.
Yeah, so did Wainwright. But,
Yeah.
they were both in their 30s. He was 10 years younger than them, and he did it coming off the mound stepping. To me, that was a red flag in that this just may be a guy that there's something about, everybody's not the same, not built the same. Some of these people's legs are different. God
I mean,
forbid that if
you're
he
just
gets,
guessing, if you
yeah,
try to blame it on any kind of activity or workouts they're doing, it's just that's the ugly, just shitty side of baseball is that you have guys like him that you're looking at him like this dude could be an ace for 10, 15 years. And something like
yeah,
this can just derail your whole career. I feel terrible for
literally,
him.
literally, because
Yeah.
you'd almost rather have Tommy John because at least with the recovery, everything about it. There's so many guys that have had it, so many guys now
Mm-hmm.
that have had two of them. But this is something, we're in uncharted waters. I found one guy, the AAA third base prospect with the White Sox, who's the same age basically, was a really high prospect. Tore his twice, but the second time he tore his was 10 weeks after he tore it the first time. So he had just started
Right when he came out of the boot, probably, huh?
right. So his wasn't healed yet. So I can't find one single person who's torn Achilles twice, a baseball player. There's probably one out there. It's just not documented, but I couldn't find any. So, I mean, it's hard to find anybody that's in uncharted waters with anything athletic at this point, with everything that's been documented, and I can't find anything with a guy like that. So you mentioned this when I told you we were texting. The poor guy is going to be thinking about this. And it don't matter how tough minded you are. You're going to be thinking about this when you start doing shit again physically. I mean, anything physical, walking
forever.
up steps, walking up steps,
Yeah,
you
you're
know how
gonna
you feel
favor
your
that the
Achilles
rest
when
of
you're
your
walking
life.
up steps. Yeah.
I mean,
Much less running, sprinting.
for me, you're talking about your mental health for the rest of your, like, if you're a professional athlete, he probably was playing hockey, basketball, all these other sports. Like, that's your
Yeah.
outlet.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the first thing I think about when I think it's like him as a human going through your life. And if it doesn't heal right or it's a problem, you're not playing any sports.
Yeah.
You're not
You'll be swimming.
exercising. Maybe
You'll
you're
be
walking.
swimming.
Swimming. I feel
No weight
terrible
bearing
for
stuff.
a guy that's probably used to being so active to have to take this on. But I will say, just having listened to him in interviews and talking to guys, if anybody can handle it
Yeah.
and put the work in and put a good spin on it and have the mindset, it's a guy like him. I mean, because there's other dudes that if they were throwing this curveball, they would just shut down and just drink the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a wrap. But if anybody can do it and come back from it, it's a guy like him.
That third base prospect I was talking about, by the way, that Berger guy, you should look him up. It's interesting. He went through, so he missed 2 full seasons. They thought he was just going to miss one. He missed 2. They thought the recovery for the second one would be 12 months. It was longer. He missed 2 full seasons. Then the pandemic. So he missed 3 basically, He didn't play anywhere last year. He's now hitting, he's raking in AAA. But he battled depression.
Oh yeah.
Which he never had before. He battled depression during this thing. So, and tried to, I'm sure self-medicate and all that. But so he's a big feel good story right now with the White Sox. They think he could finally, become something, but he was a top prospect, high draft pick and all that. So, I just, yeah, like you said, if there's one guy on the organization, I can't think of a better one who might have a better chance of, as far as work ethic, the right mental state, to not let it destroy him mentally. That Soroka's the guy, but at the same time, he's a guy that's so competitive and is so driven by competing that this has got to be killing him, man. To know that he's got this whole thing up in front of him again, what he just went through. And then now you've got this added on top of that. You got the mental fatigue of, okay, when I do get to the point I was before, who's to say it's going to work this time?
Yeah. Well,
you got that whole different.
That's the toughest thing about Tommy John, man. For me, mentally, I struggled a lot because you don't know it's going to work. And you put in 6-7 months of, it's just redundant. Like, it's just repetitive, boring ass rehab, day in, day out. You're getting up at 6:30, you're at the field and you're just moving your arm around. You're lifting 3-pound dumbbells. It's just a drag compared to what you're used to doing. One of the best feelings in the world for me is getting out and long tossing. Now you're throwing 45 feet at 30% effort and this long road back. When I got to the point where my elbow was still hurting after Tommy John, I was like, I might just retire rather than have another surgery and go through this again. Cause it's just so draining mentally, it's just the redundance of it. But yeah, I mean, there's a long road ahead of him. I don't know, man. I mean, it's just tough.
I thought Snit made a good comparison because somebody asked him, have you, heard of this? And of course, Snit hadn't heard of anybody doing Achilles twice either, but Snit compared it to Johnny Venters, who was also uncharted waters in that he had 3.5 Tommy Johns. Nobody else has done that and kept pitching. The one Latin pitcher came back from like 4 and kept doing a little. He wasn't very good at the end, but he came back. But there's nobody else. And the fourth one, the doctors wouldn't even do the full Tommy John on Venters' ligament because it was so compromised. They were worried that if the
bone
full,
too, they drilled through the bone so many times,
right?
Just
weakened bone.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't do that part of it, that drilling part. So, but he came back after missing 5 seasons, which is crazy.
I couldn't respect anybody more than what he did to keep freaking going, man. I mean, that's so hard.
So if they haven't had Venters call him yet, I would hope they would, maybe after he has the second surgery and begins to look at the rehab road ahead. They certainly should have Soroka talk to Johnny Venters, because that guy is the one that I think more than anybody else could tell him. I know it's going to seem like, there's no end to this, but there's hope regardless of whether it's been done before or not, because Johnny came back and he wasn't what he was before, but he still was a good major league pitcher for another couple of years. And that was
the one
5 years away.
Well, yeah, no, that's when I saw him keep coming back, I was like, I can't respect anybody more, because like I'm saying, I mean, it came pretty close to breaking me mentally, having a second just to clean up on my Tommy John and having to do some more rehab and go through it. And the whole time, what makes it tough is if it was guaranteed, I'm going to come back and be the same and be able to throw. Right. But the whole time you're looking at it like, there's a good chance I'm never the same. And an Achilles is even tougher. So you're going to have to do all this rehab with the chance that it works, not a guarantee. I mean, that makes it so much harder to push through it versus, I mean, people look at Tommy John like it's just filling a cavity now, but there's still a lot of risk, and you don't know if you're coming back. And
Yeah.
that was hard for me, even with all the certainty everybody had. Being in uncharted waters with a second Achilles at 23 is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be tough for him to push through. But like I said, I think anybody that's built mentally to do it, it'd be a guy like him.
Because there's that, if you're just a normal person and you have normal fears, you're going to be dreading what happens if I do it again. Am I even going to be able to walk normal if I have three times, much less
Yeah,
play baseball? So
yeah.
I feel for him, man. And he couldn't be a nicer guy, It couldn't be a more decent guy and a better competitor. And you just feel for him. But hey,
This is why,
life ain't fair.
when guys get criticized for signing like a Albies deal
Yeah,
or something like
exactly.
that, this is, even if it's a small percentage and you're supposed to look out for the players after you, this is the reason guys do it. Because if
Yeah,
Ozzy went and snapped his Achilles twice, he's still
yeah,
sitting on 35 mil.
yeah,
And I'm sure, I mean, I doubt Soroka got to that point where they even talked about a contract, but for him, even if he got some shitty deal offered to him, like 27 million for 6 years, for
yeah,
his talent, that's a shitty deal. For anybody else is great, but you pass on it pretty quick. But this is what's in your head when you're
yeah.
like, I mean, I got a chance to be set for life if I take this.
And a lot of organizations have signed guys with 0 to 1 these days. Nobody did before, but nowadays
Yep.
they do. They've signed some guys before they even played in the majors or they just
Yeah.
started. And he had that hell of a year in 2019. So, I mean, the next time a pitcher does that and team approaches him, I'm thinking Soroka. And next time somebody tells me, God, he left so much money on the table, I'm just going to go, Mike Soroka.
Yeah.
Because how about if the Braves had approached Soroka after that great year? That was a great year. They might have thought now's the time to get him because his price is going to go way up.
Yep.
If he just had 20 million guaranteed to him, if they'd have just signed him to buy out his arbitration years and maybe 1 year free agency, and they'd sign $40 million for 5 years or whatever, just think how differently he could look at things if he had
Oh,
40 million in the bank as
I
opposed to
mean,
what he's got right now.
it would change. I would have signed. If when I was getting close to free agency and my arm was already hurting, if they would have offered me
Yeah,
anything, I
yeah,
just, as a reliever, you're throwing a lot of games. They know better. But if they would have offered me anything, I would have signed it. But I just wasn't in that position. But those are things you think about, and that's always in the back of your head as a player. Is what if I fall on my face and just don't perform? And the other one is, what if I have some freak injury? You know,
yeah.
get
It's
your
a
foot ran
difference.
over by a taxi cab or something. And all of a sudden you're out.
It's a difference between Ozzy Albies getting that generational money,
Mm-hmm.
and if he'd have gotten hurt, then he's looking at getting by the rest of his life with what little he's made in the relatively little in the majors so far. Much less not you're not going to talking generational money at that point. But when you
Right.
get 30-40 million dollars, you're
You're
talking
good.
about
Yeah.
your kids are good.
You're good.
Their kids are good if they
Yeah.
invest it wisely. I mean, or just
So
conservatively.
yeah, and you look at like what they're passing up. Maybe they lose out on 50, but the guarantee of I
Right.
don't ever have to work again and my kids are set. I mean,
Right.
that's why guys take those deals, is because stuff like this happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's just the difference is you don't have enough money to buy like 10 cars and 4 houses and have a home.
Private jet, fly
Right,
first class
exactly.
instead.
So
It's like
instead, you're
it's not
just
so
really
bad.
rich. You're just
Yeah.
rich for the rest of your life, and so are your kids.
Yeah.
If they just invest conservatively.
I mean, I think for him, the thing he could at least look at and fall back on is they're not going to non-tender him because he's still got
Right,
too much potential.
right.
So he's going to
And they
get
wouldn't
us.
do that anyway. After what he's been through with, but yeah, he's too good
I
to
mean, you
not
never
tender
know.
him.
But with
Oh
how
yeah,
good he is, I mean, it's worth the risk on their side to, if he does come back and he is maybe not the
yeah,
same, but pretty good after it. I mean, so he'll make some money, but I mean, you look at Johnny. If Johnny didn't get hurt, Johnny was 2 years away from free agency. Johnny would have
oh my
gone out and
god.
got probably a 30-40 million dollar deal as a reliever,
And that was right when relievers were starting to get paid.
getting paid. Yeah.
Middle relievers got paid for a while.
I mean, I blew out in my free agent year, 4 months away.
Oh man.
But that's the game. That's why that's always in the back of your head, that if you can get yourself
Yeah.
that guarantee, it's worth it.
And I've got no idea how this affects him long term or whatever. But I mean, I wonder if there's a scenario where he comes back when there's less stress on an Achilles as a reliever. I have no idea. Going an inning at a time instead of a whole game. I have no idea, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting, but you certainly hoped we wouldn't have to deal with this. I'm stunned that he had the setback, the first one, the sutures thing, but then this thing, it just doesn't seem right. But, there's weird medical shit all the time. We just get used to the same thing all the time. But just being the 23 and blowing out your Achilles doing that is weird enough. That's what just tells me that he has something structurally. His body might just be a little bit different. Some people are predisposed to stuff, man. Some people's elbows and shoulders can't take pitching. Others can pitch 20 years without having a surgery.
Or a torn labrum and they just keep rolling. Everybody's body works different. I'd definitely try a different surgeon, I think.
As great as this guy is, I would too, like Beachy and Venters did. They went with Andrews the first one or two. Venters went somewhere else after that.
Yeah.
Just because it's hard to have the same trust in the same guy, no matter what his reputation is,
Well, he's 0% for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's great on everybody else, but we're shooting 0 between us. So,
yep. Anyway, home run derby. Ronald Acuna hasn't said yet whether he's going to be in it, but he told Tatis apparently, because Tatis was asked last week if he's going to be in it, and because of his shoulder, the subluxation that he had earlier this season, he's not going to do it. It would be kind of stupid for him to do it. So he said, I talked to Acuna. He was talking to me like, let's go. I told him to have fun this year, but next time I go, I'm going to win it. So he'll try to win it this time. So it sounds like he told Tatis that he's doing it for sure, but we haven't heard yet. Next time we get Ronald a thing, I'm just going to ask him if they haven't announced anything by then. But he also said, Tatis said, this was Friday when Tatis was saying he's not going to go. He picked Shohei Ohtani to win it. So somebody asked him, does that mean you're picking him over Acuna? And Tatis said, it's a tough decision. Those are my two picks. So
my money, man, I mean, it's tough to turn down betting on Ronnie because he took the most ridiculous round of home run derby I've ever seen because he was hitting opposite field home runs.
Yeah.
Way out, but still, like, nobody does that. That's probably the most. I
wonder what it'll do at Coors, because, I mean, he can flick those opposite fields at Coors. Every one of them's going out.
He might go top deck opposite field because I don't think they'll use the humidor.
I wonder if somebody, because, they tore that third deck down and it's a party deck now.
Somebody's leaving the yard.
I think somebody's going to hit it out of the stadium.
Ohtani will leave the stadium. I'd put money on that if I could. Because I think they always juice the balls a little bit for the home run derby.
Yeah.
And I don't think they'll put them in the humidor. And when you take BP there, you hit BP balls that aren't in the humidor.
They ain't putting it in the humidor.
No,
they're going to try to get the most they can get.
Somebody might hit one 570. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but
I don't think Stanton's going to be in it. I don't think he's ruled it out, but he could do it. He could hit one over.
Guerrero might go over the scoreboard.
And Acuna could do it, man.
Yep. It's actually going to be really fun to watch because, like, when you take BP there, you use your own practice balls, so they're not in the humidor. Dudes hit balls, and you think you're camped under it in center field.
Yeah,
and it just keeps going. It doesn't come down.
Acuna could hit one up on that rock pile in center to the top of that, or he could hit one in
the
left
in center.
He could hit over, the rock pile seats up there, or he could hit over everything and left, that concourse, everything out in the park. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to hit one out to right field out of the ballpark, but you never know with him, man. The home run he hit, that home run he hit at Cincinnati this weekend.
Which one was that?
Holy, the line drive to center,
off the glass.
117 miles an hour. It was a line drive like the one in New York, but even lower. It was under 20 degrees launch angle.
Yep.
It looked like it was going to take the pitcher's head off, and it just kept going. These screaming line drives he hit, those two on that road trip, were ridiculous. 116 and 117, I think. This was the hardest hit by a Braves since StatCast started in 2015. He's now got the 4 hardest hit by any Brave since they started StatCast. And I wonder what Gaddis's would have been. That one he hit at Philly that went 480 or whatever at Philly.
Dead center.
Yeah, up on the concourse.
I was talking to Hinsky when he went over to the Angels and Ohtani had just came over, and he said hands down he has the most BP power he's ever seen. I mean, it's not hard to believe now after watching him, some of the balls he hits, but I don't think people realize how big he is. He's huge.
He's a big boy, and he takes a big swing.
big smooth swing.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he'll hit one out of the stadium to right field.
I think he's because he's Asian. People have a stereotype, in their heads, about how big he could be or whatever.
No,
He's
he's a
big.
monster. Yeah.
He's a big dude, man.
Yeah.
He's like a little bigger than Chipper, you know,
Yep.
like another inch or two than a Chipper and a little bigger overall, wider
Yep.
shoulders. But for people who've ever met Chipper and they go, God, he's a lot bigger than I thought. Because people don't realize how big Chipper was because he played third base. Chipper's a big boy, but Otani's bigger.
Yeah. You know who he
Uh,
actually, his swing reminds me a lot of Ichiro's BP swing because Ichiro would just pepper the Hit It Here Cafe
yeah,
and BP. I think Ichiro could have won a home run derby if he ever did it.
that's what everybody says. He could have hit
Nobody
30
believes
homers
it.
a year if he wanted to.
He would hit BP, and if he was in the mood, he could hit. If say you took 30 swings, he'd hit 27 or 28 off the Hit It Here Cafe in right field, and it was the same home run over and over and over. But
Yeah,
we'd always ask him like, man, why don't you do that in games or why? And he said, I'm fast. I want to get on base. I want to hit
right.
330. But his BP, I mean, I think he could have won the home run derby. He wouldn't have hit the moonshot, he wouldn't have hit one
Yeah,
500 feet, but he just consistently could hit a home
right.
run, 90% of the time when he felt like it in BP.
I bet if he came along now, he would have a different approach. He wouldn't be hit because average is just not a big deal anymore. And he wanted to be a
No,
300 hitter, and now it's like you don't get paid for that. So
I don't know. I
unfortunately,
wonder how they try to defensive position him though, because he could put the ball wherever he wanted.
yeah,
He
he
could,
could
I
handle
mean,
the bat better than anybody in the game right now. He could
yeah,
he'd beat any shift if he wanted to.
he would just purposely hit a high chopper to shortstop and beat it out.
Yeah. Yeah. That man could handle a bat. Damn. So I know they've got the home run derby. What I've seen so far, commitments are from Pete Alonso, defending champion, who beat Acuna by 1 in the second round of the previous one when Acuna was hitting the opposite field homers, 20-19 in that round. Alonso went on to win that thing as a rookie. He's the defending champ because they didn't have one last year. Shohei Ohtani, Trevor Story. It seems like a stretch kind of to get a Rockies guy in it.
Yeah.
He had 35 homers in 2019, but since the start of last year, the guy's got 20 home runs. I mean, in 540 plate appearances.
You got to get a hometown guy in it if you can.
Yeah. Weird thing, he's only got 9 homers in that span at home. He's got 11 on the road. So he's not doing it all with Coors or whatever. So it's not like he's just got it mastered. But yeah, they like to get a hometown guy in that thing for sure. And the other guy that is known to have got an invite and said is Mancini.
That's the coolest.
Yeah, great story this year.
Yeah.
He got an invite and he had said a few days earlier, yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd definitely do it. So I'm assuming that he's doing it, but I haven't.
No, he's doing it. Yeah, he accepted. I think they announced it yesterday. He accepted. Okay. But I mean, from
the guy they got to get in this thing is obviously Acuna, but Kyle Schwarber. They've got to get in him right now because he is hotter than any home run hitter I've seen since Bonds.
Oh, he's hit some far ones too. He doesn't hit cheap ones.
Yeah. Yeah, he's hitting them 440, 450 routinely. And he's on fire. Have not heard yet on Guerrero. You would think you would, but the other thing is he might not want to screw up the season he's having. I mean, he's hitting for such a great average. He's staying healthy. I don't know.
Did you see he has the exact same number of home runs through the same number of games?
Insane. 50 through like, what was it, 258 games
Whatever
or something?
It was, the same amount of games.
That is
the same
insane.
Exact pace as his dad. That's crazy.
That is, yeah, exactly 50 home runs. But Kyle Schwarber, he's on fire with the Nats right now. He's a huge reason they've won 12 out of the last 15 games. I mean, they're getting a little scary in that division, man. If the Braves are going to catch them, they can't wait around much longer. Can't keep playing 500 ball with the Nats doing what they're doing. They got a chance against the Mets again this week, so they need to take advantage. But Schwarber, he hit his 6th leadoff homer of the season yesterday, and he's only hit leadoff for about 3 weeks or less.
Yeah.
So it was his 5th multi-homer game of the season yesterday. Louis Rojas and the Mets their manager said, we were pitching him in, away, down, up. We were bouncing balls. This guy's swinging a hot bat. He hasn't done it just against us. We're watching highlights of him doing it against other teams too. Did it against not against the Braves. They didn't play him during this hot stretch. But who was that they played before that? Yeah, he's torching everybody. His numbers, dude, right now, last 15, he's got 11 homers in the last 9 games. For the last 15 games, 11 homers let's see, 11 homers in the last 9 games. The last 15 games, here's what he's done: 22 for 59, 373. But are you ready for this? 14 home runs in his 22 hits, 25 RBIs in those 15 games from the leadoff spot, 1,085 slugging percentage, and a 1518 OPS in 15 games. And that's a 12-3 in that stretch. I mean,
dude, obviously it's not, nobody keeps that up, but
that
those are those waves you want to ride during the season that make your whole year. Yeah, I mean, he can be okay the rest of the year. He's going to have a good season.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great month for just about anybody.
Yeah, he's got one less homer this month than the entire Diamondbacks team.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great month for. I mean, those are like player of the month stats. Those the
power numbers. Got it locked down.
Yeah, I think he's got it locked down. It's pretty safe to say. Tatis had said, yeah, I read that to what he said about Acuna. I love the Mancini, and I still think the Braves should try to get Mancini, but I don't think the Orioles
Mancini's the coolest story in baseball this year. Yeah, I mean, he was doing chemo last year, not knowing if he was going to be around, and now you're in the home run derby. That's crazy.
You think your Mariners are going to trade some of those guys?
I don't know. I mean,
they're playing all right, aren't they?
I could see him trading Kendall Graveman, who's just gone off out of the pen, but
Braves could certainly use him, man.
Trading Haniger, one more arm. Trading Haniger would be tough on the fan base because
that's the guy the Braves need.
That's who they'd need, and I don't think they'd do it because they're doing this whole rebuild thing, and he's supposed to be part of the future.
Yeah,
but if Braves could get him, man, he's another one of those guys though that if he can stay healthy, but he keeps having freak injuries.
Yeah. Cam, you need to read some ads, man?
Yeah, let's make some cashola. As we talked about, a presenting sponsor is Topps and Topps Project 70, celebrating the 70th anniversary of Topps' very first baseball card design. The company was founded in 1938 as a chewing gum company. Topps released their first baseball card in 1951. Just a little bit of history for you guys. But Topps this year has teamed up with 51 artists and creatives from around the globe to reimagine 70 years of Topps' most iconic baseball card designs through a year-long program, as you guessed it, Project 70. They teamed up with names like Snoop Dogg, Action Bronson, Ben Baller, Jeff Staple, Tyson Beck, Alex Party, and many, many more. So to put it into context, how would you like to see Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle in a 1980s Topps design? You'll be able to see that. Fernando Tatis Jr. in a classic template from the 1950s. And even Ronald Acuna Jr., I believe his card will be released later this week and another vintage design. And we'll talk about that more probably next episode. But each card drop includes a rainbow foiled edition, number 1 to 70. There's a gold framed edition, silver framed edition. So some very rare hot commodity items for you guys to check out at Topps.com. You can learn more about Project 70 there and see which cards are live right now. HelloFresh. They're a fantastic company. They take out the stress from meal planning and grocery store trips so you can enjoy cooking and getting dinner on the table in about 30 minutes or less. Try HelloFresh's quick and easy meals, 15 to 20-minute dinners, breakfast on the go, and many more easy options for your busy lifestyle. David's traveling everywhere now, going to New York, Cincinnati. I know he's had some HelloFresh delivered. You said all the ingredients were really fresh and everything was great, right?
Loved it. Didn't like the having to cook it, but it was very good. Restaurant quality. I need somebody to cook it for me.
Listen, but if David's able to cook it, you can too. You get your first 14 meals for free. Get 2 free weeks of meals from America's #1 meal kit by going to HelloFresh.com/real14. That's REAL14 and use the code REAL14 real14 for up to 14 free meals plus free shipping. And then lastly, make sure you guys check out BetMGM, the exclusive betting partner of The Athletic, and get a $1,000 risk-free first bet, plus get a 3-month subscription to The Athletic. Just sign up at betmgm.com/real to take advantage of this special offer from the king of sportsbooks. That's betmgm.com/real. New customer offer, paid in bonus dollars. Visit betmgm.com for terms and conditions. Back to you.
We were talking about Acuna's home run, his 21st of the season Sunday, by the way. Man, he's on a killer pace, but it was it was on a 3-1 slider from Tyler Mall. I don't know.
Malley, I think. I don't know.
Malley, you're right. And it came after he nearly hit him on the first pitch, up and in again with Acuna. Hit the bottom, it hit his bat though, so it was a foul ball. But you could tell it pissed him off. And afterwards, Snit said that he reminds, he goes, I don't want to talk about, the greats all the time, but he said, Frank Robinson, Hank Aaron, you piss them off when you nearly hit them like that, and they would hurt you. And Acuna's same way. And we asked Acuna about it afterwards, said what Snit had said. And Acuna said that indeed it motivates him. He said, it was a great quote. He said, on nearly getting hit like that, because he stepped back in the box, there's 3 balls. They threw him 3 balls, and then he's crushed that slider. But he said, it motivates me. It definitely motivates me. I'm already focused, but when that happens, I'm even more focused, and it sort of turns into the mentality of there's no way I'm not going to get a hit.
Yeah, you don't want him in that mode.
No,
you don't want him in that mode.
No. But talking about the quotes, on Kyle Muller striking out Votto after the inning, he got a little hairy. There's a couple of guys on. He walked the pitcher. He said he briefly lost his focus, and where that would have kind of unraveled on him in the past, he said he's learned. He kind of took a step back off the mound, gathered his breath, and took a breath, and then got back into it. And he got and then with 2 guys on, he got out of the inning by striking out Votto. But that was a big inning for me, more mentally than physically. Striking out a guy like that in a high pressure situation, runners on second and third, it's huge. So I was super excited. Something that I had been working on mentally when an inning starts to kind of get away from me, taking a step off, taking my time, take a deep breath, relaxing and focusing on executing pitches, because I had a terrible at bat to the pitcher. I didn't really throw him anything competitive there. That could rattle you, but instead I regrouped and then attacked Votto, and that was great.
That's why I love that when we had Leo Mazzoni on. I love that quote of his that he said, pitchers try to go and use superpower.
Yeah.
Because that's your tendency, especially Joey Votto. You're a young guy coming up. You know who Joey Votto is. And he's one of the toughest lefty guys you can face because he stays on the slider well. But, to show the maturity and just know, if you execute here and make a pitch, you're going to get him out. But if you make a mistake, he can hurt you. So many guys try to do more. They try to get better. They try to throw harder. They try to make their slider better. Now you're behind in the count. You got to come see him. That's showing a lot of maturity for a young guy. Probably one of his first times in that situation, getting into that big at bat, taking a step back and calming down. Because most guys get amped up, try to do too much, and that's when you get hurt.
Snit was talking about Muller, the impression that he's made in these 2 starts both on this road trip. And he said, very good impression. Love the assortment. We were just talking about how he used the secondary pitches to get himself back in the counts. That's a really good mix right there. The velocity was good, the feel of the break and stuff. And he said, I was telling Dansby Swanson, he said, Kyle gets the ball and goes. He's aggressive and has a good, unbelievable pace. I love the 1 inning when things were unraveling a little bit, how he stayed together and got out of it. Struck out Votto, really good in. So really a lot of positive stuff right there. But he was talking about how that the pace and the other guys had said the same thing and working behind him after his first start in New York. Guys said that pace that he's making, you guys aren't on their heels like they are with some of these pitchers. Everybody's in tune, and your defense works so much better behind you when they're on their toes and they're into the game with, you're working fast.
It's such a benefit. Ball 1, ball 2, strike 1, ball 3. Your defenders just have this tendency to kind of not anticipate action. And you always want them in that mode where they're anticipating the ball hit to them. But the more time you take between pitches, the more you fall behind guys. They have this tendency to just think you're going to throw another ball here or not challenge the hitter. They lose, even if they lose just a half a step, that ball in the hole sneaks through or they're a little off on getting a nice sweet hop and they bobble it. I don't know why every pitcher doesn't work fast. Some guys mentally just need their time to gather their thoughts, but I always think it's better to think less and just get up there and just focus on executing.
Especially starting pitchers, man.
Yeah.
Some
of those guys like Miguel Bautista used to take like 23 seconds between pitches, and it's like the whole stadium's asleep. But that was he had a good career, that's what worked for him. So if it's an option, I always say work fast.
Big thing with Muller in his debut, that 1 inning of relief against the Red Sox, he was not a disaster, but it it wasn't good, but he gave up 4 hits and 2 runs. Thing was, all 4 hits came with 2 strikes, right?
Yeah.
So he said, I asked him about that, and he said that was the biggest thing. He said, after that 1 inning, that was my biggest focus. Rather than try to make the pitch too good, like I tried to do in that game, just throw a well-executed, well-located pitch. He said,
Mhm.
no, with my stuff, plays well. And he's got the confidence now. He knows his stuff is good enough to let the defense work. He doesn't have to try to blow everybody away.
It took me 3 years to learn that lesson. I mean, my heart rate was always through the roof when I'd get in a jam. You'd have, say, Jason Giambi coming up, who you should get out, lefty. It's a good matchup for you, but
Yeah.
you want to strike him out. You want to do something big. You want to throw this nasty slider, or David Ortiz, somebody like that would come up, and I'd always try to do too much and I'd get burned. And that was one thing that helped when I came over to Atlanta, was just being around guys like B-Mac telling me, look, if you make this pitch here, he's going to hit a ground ball. So just make the pitch. It doesn't have to be nasty. Just hit my glove and you're good. But it's just hard. It's hard for guys to wrap their head around that in this big situation. The crowd's going to go wild. You want to get the strikeout. You want to fist pump. You want to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, for me, that's just showing a ton of maturity for a young guy, because that was a lesson that took me a while to learn. But once I learned it, it changed my whole career.
His fastball and his curveball were rated by Baseball America as the best in the Braves minor league system in the offseason.
Really?
I think the slider
fair.
would probably now too.
It
I
just
mean,
wasn't rated, I'm guessing, because you said he added it last year.
Yeah, he really worked on it. I think Tucker Davidson, you really developed his, and Huascar Noah. I don't know if they're considered him in that group too, but his is terrific.
Noah's got a lights out slider. He's got a good one.
So I didn't look at the ratings. I don't know who was first, but I would think it's gonna be hard to beat Mullers at this point for minor league system. But then again, I don't think he's going to be back in the minor league system.
If you look at what that Cutter Kershaw added, what that did for his career, because he always had the curveball and the fastball, and even when Kershaw dropped down into the low 90s, he added that cutter or slider, whatever you want to call it, but a harder breaking ball to get you off the slower breaking ball.
Yeah,
that Muller's already starting right there. So for me, that's a really encouraging sign. But that just having a little, they see spin, but the speed throws them off. You still get back and forth between 2 different breaking balls. That's probably why Votto took that first slider, because if that ball's a curveball, it drops out of the zone. But when it's a slider and it cuts across more, it just throws hitters such a different look. Anytime I see a lefty with a good fastball and 2 breaking balls, I feel good about him.
So before Sunday, when the Braves in the first 3 games of that Red Series, runners in scoring position had gone 1 for 10, 1 for 10, and 1 for 8. They were lucky to even win one of those games, but they did. But it just goes to show how many runs are leaving out there on the bases, and how quickly it could change with just get a few key hits. It's not like they're not hitting the ball at all, because they are. I mean, they're just stranding so many runners on this trip. But they had during this stretch of 9 games before Sunday, they were 7 for 52 with runners in scoring position, 135, and that's just awful. And they had scored 3 runs or fewer in every one of those games. That was the longest streak they had of scoring 3 or fewer since 2015. They hit 190 overall in that stretch and scored 18 runs. So they hope Sunday. Riley hit the home run, got him to 4-0 Sunday in the 6th inning. That was the first game over 3. So they hope that they ended the trip on a good note and go into this homestand starting tonight, Tuesday, and turn the page. I mean, they got, considered how shitty the offense was in that stretch, they got to be happy with getting a 4-4 road trip against a couple of pretty good teams, the Mets and the Reds.
Yeah,
So,
and if they can turn that around, I mean, it was easy to take it for granted, all that late inning magic the last 2 years. It felt like every time they needed a big hit, somebody came up and got it. And I mean, that's the difference in the whole season this year, is when they needed a reliever to have that big inning, they've scuffled a little bit, or when there's been that big at bat that they seem like they always got that hit the last few years. If they can get back even close to that mode, you're looking at a completely different season.
They went from first in the majors in late and close situations, average and OPS in 2019, to last in the majors in both of those this year. First to last. I mean, that's all and then the relievers too, late and close, were not doing well either. So you can't combine the two, And that's
You
all
flip
that
those
magic
two
we were
things.
talking about. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, you flip those two things, they're probably in first place. If they're,
When
if
you're
they're
not
just
scoring late and close and you're not
Mhm.
preventing runs late and close,
yeah, I mean,
it's
that's
not the rest of the game that's killing you.
nope.
So, I mean, so at least you have reason to hope, and during that stretch too, the other thing was during that stretch, the hard hit rate was still tied with the Dodgers for like best in baseball. So
It's not
I
getting
know
the
people
breaks.
get tired of hearing them say, we're getting bad luck, but they really are having bad luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it
And
sounds
like last year, it would have been a
hollow.
broken bat single or something, just fell in.
Yeah.
Where you maybe didn't even earn it. The ball was just bouncing their way.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, they got to start going, obviously, because you can't. We're almost halfway into the season now, and they got to start making up ground. But like we said, I mean, they're still right there because the division has been so relatively mediocre. I know the Nats are on fire right now, but nobody's opened up a big gap. Yeah, that's insurmountable. That's for sure. So, there's no time to wave the white flag. I mean, to decide between now and the trade deadline whether it can be buyers and sellers. I don't think there's any intention right now of being sellers. Now, maybe that if
I
they don't
know.
make up any
It blows
ground
my
between
mind
now
that
and then.
people saying who they should trade. It's like,
Yeah, they're
Can't
4.5
give up
games
yet.
out of first place. What are
Yeah.
you talking about? I mean, they're not looking at that's not the organizational attitude, whether it's some fans' attitude or not. That is not. You don't get where you are, win 3 straight division titles, and all of a sudden you're 4.5 out before the All-Star break, and you go, you know what? Let's wave a white flag and start over. That's not what they're doing. I mean, when
Well,
you've got
that's the thing.
Acuna, or Acuna, and Albies,
Yeah.
and Freddie, and Riley doing, and it's not time for
We'll
that.
be back. I
Yep.
mean, that's the thing too, is like, it's not necessarily how you're playing, it's the division you're in. If they
Right.
were in the West, maybe, because
Right.
even the Dodgers are 17 games over 500 and they're 2.5 back.
Right.
Padres are 14 over 500. They're 4 back. If you had a 500 record in that division, you might sell because you're thinking we got 3 teams to get past. But I mean, you're 4.5 back. Even if you have a losing record and you're 4.5 back, you got a shot.
So all you need to do is win the division,
Yep.
but just get hot when you go into the playoffs, because we've seen before it's who's hot in the playoffs. It doesn't matter how good.
Yeah.
How many years did the Braves have the
Wild
best team
card
in
teams
baseball?
win it all the time.
Yep. How many years did the Braves have the best team in the baseball, or at least in the National League, and get beat in the first round?
Yeah.
A lot. They had
Yeah.
years where they won 95 to 100 games, didn't win it all.
You just got to
So,
get in.
You got to
Just
get
find
in
a way in
and
then,
be healthy. And if they can
you
get
know.
in and have, Inoa back by then, have Darno back by then,
Freed
it
rolling.
could be a whole different story. You got Mueller now on a roll. If he
Mhm.
could keep building on this, you got Freed coming back Tuesday. He's missed one start, or Wednesday. You got Charlie Morton is pitching great now after, the first 2 months was, he's pitching great now. He looks like Charlie Morton,
Yep.
and the spin rate thing, his spin rate hasn't gone down at all with 60 substance. So,
Yeah. And he's
Unlike
he's
a lot
built
of
for the
pitchers.
playoffs. He can handle
and
it.
Smiley, everybody gave up on Smiley, including us. I mean, I was like, God, what the world did they spend 11 million? He's looked good this last
Yep.
3-4 starts.
Well, and that's the whole
So-
point too, is if those guys can be up and down all season, if they're hot going into the playoffs and you got those starters, you
Yeah.
can beat anybody.
If you've got Mueller, Freed,
Morton.
Charlie, first of all, obviously he's your big game pitcher. Smiley doing what he's doing. You got Noah coming back either as a starter or reliever. But the point is, you got 4 guys.
Yeah.
You got 4 guys, and you stick in a 5th there, and just to you're not going to need more than 3 in the playoffs. So just got to get there. But
Yeah, that's
lot
why
of time.
that trade talk is kind of like a little premature, because if you can just sneak in, I mean, shit, the Cardinals were 10 games back behind us in 11.
yeah, and made it up in
You know?
September.
Yeah, in a month.
Yeah.
4.5 back with 3 to go.
Yeah,
There's
I think
no chance you're thinking
I
about.
think at this
waving
point you
white
still got
flag.
to be buyers, man. I think at this point you
Yeah.
still got to add. You got to add a reliever, man. If you could add a bat, I mean, it's pie in the sky probably, but if you could add Ketel Marte, oh my God,
Yeah.
that would be the reason I'm hung up on him, is because he's not only would you be, he's not a rental guy. So you're not like giving up a bunch of prospects in the hope that you could do something this year. He's a
No,
guy
you got him
signed for
next
3
year.
more years. So you could build around him.
Yeah.
Also, it gives you some insurance. I still think they're going to sign Freddie, but it gives you some insurance. If you didn't sign Freddie, you
Lefty
got another
bat.
superstar bat, right?
Yeah.
Another superstar to go with Acuna, Ozzy, Riley, if he keeps doing what he's doing, but gives you another superstar. Now, if you sign Freddie, which I think they will do, you talk about Acuna, Ozzy Albies, Marte, Freddie Freeman, and then you got guys like Riley. You got your half your lineup is
You got some
studs.
thumb.
You got some serious power. If you were and Marte can run too with Acuna. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's at all possible to get Ketel Marte, I think the Braves should, even if you have to overpay with your prospects, I would do it, man, because he is a guy that he's signed for $26 million, including options for the next 3 years.
Yeah, you have to give up a lot to get him, you know.
I would. I'd give up a
The
lot to get
Diamondbacks
him.
are in that rebuild mode, so you can trade prospects you could trade B prospects and give them quite a few. You know, you don't have to give up your best guys, but
I'd give up an A like a Drew Waters.
Yep.
And I'd give up a pitcher like one of the recent draft picks that might be really good. I might even consider giving up Schuster. I know he's really good. He could be really good, but the guy I wouldn't give up is the guy that from Clemson, the guy that's just dominated that. I keep forgetting his name. Stringer. You know the guy I'm talking about? Have you looked at his numbers?
I don't look at prospects till they're at AAA.
Race. Keep talking. How about your guy, Haniger? What do you think about him? Would they trade? Because he could certainly help the Braves.
Oh, he'd help. Yeah, I mean, the only worry with him is the injury stuff. But when he's healthy, man, he rakes. He's a good athletic outfielder. He can run.
Yeah.
Got power. You know, I mean, if you have power at Safeco or T-Mobile, you got power anywhere.
Yeah. The name, I don't know why I always forget Spencer Strider's name, but it's Spencer Strider. And he has been a man among boys in the low minors. And he's already, let's just say he's already been promoted twice this year. He just got promoted to AA. That's how dominant he's been at the low A and high A. They got him in the fourth round last year, fourth round, had an injury at Clemson, you know, that he's 22, almost to be 23 in October. So he's a guy that could come quickly because he's a college guy and he's not 21 years old. But listen to these numbers in low A and high A. Okay. Starts the year off in Augusta low A. Just absolutely dominates, makes 4 starts there. 0.59 ERA, DeGrom ERA, 32 strikeouts with 5 walks and 15 and a third innings, 6 hits. He had an 0.717 whip at low A in 4 starts.
When dude does that, it's like you're not even getting challenged at this level. You need to get out of here.
Man among boys. So they moved him up to high A, right? Makes 3 starts at Rome, a little closer, guys closer to his age. He's 22. Makes 3 starts at Rome, 2.45 ERA. 24 strikeouts, 6 walks, 14 and 2/3 innings, gave up 9 hits there. He's given up in those 2 levels combined in 7 starts. He's given up 1 homer, 15 hits in 30 innings.
Yeah. It always makes me, I don't know. When I see teams that have a guy doing something crazy and they like, we want to keep him at this level to develop. You know, you stop developing when you're putting up those numbers. If you're striking out guys at that pace, you're not getting any better because you're not having to pitch
smart.
They're smart for moving him up. He needs to keep moving up until he gets challenged, until he fails.
I hate when teams wait like till the All-Star break because that's the way they've done it before they bump a guy up. This guy was just, he might have been pitching batting practice for what these guys were doing. He was just dominating. But so he goes up to AA. And now he's starting maybe to find his level a little bit, but he's made 1 start there and he gave up at Mississippi, he pitched 4 2/3 innings there, gave up 2 runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, and again, 8 strikeouts in 4 2/3 innings. I think this guy can come quick,
4
man.
2/3. Yeah. I mean, for me, the biggest jumps from high A to AA.
Right.
That's when you get to the point where guys can see spin. They can recognize a breaking ball. Mm-hmm. You know, you get AA to AAA was exactly the same for me. It was just younger guys versus older guys, but the stuff difference, you know, if your stuff plays in AA, it's going to play in AAA. It's just a matter of there's some smarter, more savvy hitters that know how to work a count and get you into a spot where they can do damage. But if you cruise through AA, call them up to AAA. You know,
I mean, he'll do like the Acuna year that Acuna had, starting out in A and ended up at AAA. Yep. I think this guy will be at AA, and if he does great for like 5, 6, 8 starts, I think they'll move him up to AAA last month. And then
if he dominates,
right? But even at Double A, you're in position to go straight to the big leagues if they
Yeah.
wanted him up. I mean, you don't have
They
to.
needed him.
Freed went straight from Double A to the big leagues when he
Yep.
started him. But I think this is a guy that could compete for a spot next year for sure.
I did it in 1 year. I started the year in high A, went all the way up. You know, it was just I learned how to make pitches, and all of a sudden, I just if you execute good pitches and you got big league stuff, I mean, there's no reason not to. And even if he finishes the year in AAA and they think they could use him out of the pen, I mean, guys get mad. Guys like
Sure.
AAA dudes that have been grinding and they feel like they're putting up their numbers, but they've already had their shot up in the big leagues and they've shown that they kind of are going to be an up and down guy. They get pretty pissed when you kind of just leapfrog them. But if you're running an organization and you got a dude that's just cruising through it, he goes to AAA and cruises through that, teams love just seeing a fresh arm come up and give him that shot versus somebody you've already kind of played that game with and they've failed multiple times. So, I mean, if he keeps doing it, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a shot.
I think they're going to have one of the steals of that draft in this guy because he was hurt at Clemson. So his numbers at Clemson just were not anything that would impress you. Like his last year at Clemson, his junior year, he only made 4 starts because he had the injury. His 4.50 ERA.
Did they overpay him? Was he one of those guys that went in the 4th round but still got $1 million?
It wasn't a huge overpay if it was at all. I have to go back and look, but it wasn't a big anything gratuitous. 13 hits and 12 innings though his senior year. So I mean, he's pitching much better in the Double A than he did, in college. It's senior year. And the year before that, 2018, he missed the 2019 season. I think he had TJ. Yeah,
that's where that good scouting comes into play that nobody wants to give credit.
But this could be a huge get for the Braves with this guy. So we'll see. Spencer Strider, name to watch. And Braves followers that follow the minor leagues and all that are surely fully aware of him at this point because he's making some big noise down there in Lowe's. But the cool thing is all their minor league affiliates are within driving distance now of Atlanta. So people can actually go see these guys play at low A at Augusta, high A at Rome. Double A Mississippi is the furthest one away. Then Triple A, they're just right up the highway, suburban Atlanta. So.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things too about minor league baseball is like if you saw a dude play in Rome and you get to see him in the minors and if you're a real baseball fan and you love it, you can kind of gauge yourself. Like, I think that guy's a big leaguer and you get to be right about it or wrong about it when you see him go all the way up. But seeing these guys when they're 17, 18, 19 years old and then watching who they turn into the big leagues, I mean, that's a cool journey for fans.
That's what I think. That's why those cities that were good baseball towns that lost like teams in A-ball and everything because geographic realignment sucks for them because now they've got these indie ball teams.
Yeah.
So you don't have that same, you can't watch guys and go, oh, I want to see him now. I'm a Braves fan. I want to see this guy at the start of his career. That's a huge factor with why a lot of people go to those games. They want to see Braves prospects. It's different going to see an indie ball team, man.
Indie ball, I mean, there might be one miracle dude, but most of them are just hanging on.
Or even those wood bat leagues that they've turned in. You still don't know where the guys are going or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not your
and they're
team,
not with an organization. Yeah. So you can't track them up and get excited about them.
Right. All right. Well, big homestand. And we'll talk again after this, after hopefully these games in. We got rain this week. So that tropical storm is moving up. So we're going to get some remnants of that or the edge of that. So, but good stuff. Good stuff. We're going to have all-star games and all-star starters announced Thursday. The Braves right now have 2, Acuna and Ozzie Albies leading their positions going into the phase 2 of the voting. So all you fans who voted in phase 1, make sure you got to vote for phase 2 too, because the votes don't carry over with this screwed up voting system. It's so complicated, man.
Yeah.
They just want everybody to keep voting. So they start from scratch. So if you want Acuna and Albies to start, you got to vote again. So we'll see.
That's going to be a lot.
Yeah. And then Freddie was like second among first basemen. So, all right. That's
he'd
it.
rather have a nice all-star break. He's not happy about this year. He'd probably rather take the family to the Bahamas or something.
I'd probably rather sign an extension during the all-star break.
Yeah. Yeah. Work on that deal.
All right. We'll talk again on Friday. 7:55 is real. We're out. See ya.
It's almost July.